What up, party people? Episode 83, Wake and Rake Podcast. Will Middlebrooks, Danny Vietti, all part of the Believe Network. A lot going on, Brooksy, man. There's a lot of drama. It's like
drama, baby.
It's May and there's drama, man.
What's
drama.
baseball without drama, though?
Is it?
But listen.
Is it
162
good?
Games in 80 days ish. There's a few more off days now, like 183, 184 days. Without drama, it's boring.
That's what I'm saying.
And I love baseball more than anyone. But if there's not drama or something for us to talk about,
yeah,
tired.
So it's good for the game.
The drama.
So it's good. It's good for the game. That was my next follow-up question.
Keeps it relevant, in my opinion.
Do you think it's good for people to be only okay? When you look at the headlines on your mainstream media today, which is Wednesday, May 17th, everybody's going to talk about how the Yankees could potentially be cheating. Do you think that's good for the game or bad for the game?
It goes both ways. We're talking about baseball, which is great. You never want to see baseball and cheating in a headline because that will push people away. That might push parents away from putting it in front of their kids or whatever. We can just jump right into this if you want. The Blue Jays.
I do have to read an advertisement because that's kind of part of
Do your thing, Daniel.
You know what I mean? Like, we're part of this new Believe startup. You might even be watching this episode on the Believe network, the television network. Big development with the Wake.
How cool is that? That's pretty sick.
We made it on TV. Hi, Mom.
Made it.
Hi, Mom.
We finally made it, Ma.
Well, Mom, listen to this. BetOnline is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines and the latest matchup reports for this year's NBA playoffs. BetOnline is your sports intel headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your insider sports wagering needs, from basketball, MLB, NHL, hockey, golf to UFC and boxing. The fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your home. Get into the action today, so head to the website or use your mobile device to join, and be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to receive your 50% bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Now we can get into it. Yankees, Blue Jays, whole lot of drama up there in our homeland of Canada.
The Rogers Center. I just want to come out and say, square one, I was pretty active on Twitter talking about the 2 nights ago with the Aaron Judge situation, with his eyes cutting over to either the bench or the first base coach. And I think it ended up coming out that it was the base coaches because the lefty hitters were cutting over. 1 through 9, there were guys doing this, right? Let me just say, if they have a tip on the pitcher, if he's doing something that the hitter can't see, but the coaches can, and they look and get those signs from the catcher, or from the first base or third base coach, it's not cheating. It's not if you're tipping your pitches, or if my initial thought was, because I'm breaking this down, I'm watching it in slow-mo, I'm watching it a million times in a row, the judge at bat. So I couldn't tell if Christian Kirk was going. Is his name Christian?
Alejandro.
Christian Kirk is the receiver.
Yes.
From yeah. So let's
you're in Florida. So he's down the road in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
so
he's in Jacksonville now.
Yeah.
Saguaro High School in Arizona, by the way. But let's get back on track, because let's talk baseball. And so Kirk is putting down. He goes to his pitch comm, which is on his knee. He can take it off because it's Velcro. Puts it between his legs, but then drops some fingers down too. So I'm thinking, okay, like he definitely put like a 3 down, which is normally slider. That's the pitch that Jay Jackson threw 6 times in a row. Eventually it was a hanging 1-3-2 that he hit into someone's lobster bisque in center field into that restaurant. And I'm thinking, okay, he goes in his setup with like the knee down, which a lot of catchers 1 knee down. That's like their setup now. And it's pretty open. He was pretty open to the first base coach. So my initial thought was, the first base coach is picking his signs. We used to do this in high school. This goes back into Little League. Yes. If you show me your signs, that's like if we're playing Texas Hold'em and you show me you have 2 aces, I'm not going to call you. It's not like, oh, can't look. Right. That ain't how it works. That's why we give signs. That's why catchers hide their signs. That's part of it. So if you're going to give me the sign, I'm going to take it. It's not cheating. All right. So then I talked to some people on the inside. I'm not going to give names because they asked me not to, but I talked to some people that were in that game.
It was Mike Trout.
Nope. In that game. Mike Trout does not play for the Blue Jays or the Yankees.
It wasn't Aaron Judge because he doesn't follow you on Twitter. It wasn't Aaron Judge. He doesn't.
That doesn't mean that it wasn't him. But I talked to somebody with the Blue Jays. They were using PitchCom. So it wasn't signs. So it was clearly a tip that the pitcher had that the hitter couldn't see from the box. Someone could either see it from down at the end of the dugout, which I don't think was the case because both coaches, I think, were able to see it because the lefties were looking at the third base coach. So they could see something, whether it was the grip or something. If he preset the grip maybe in his hand behind his leg, sometimes pitchers do that. You were a pitcher, you knew. Some guys would, have their slider or what they want to throw already gripped, and they would go in their glove. That way they don't move around in their glove. If the coaches can see that and they're going to go hands on hips for breaking ball, hands down for fastball, I want to know. Aaron Judge, best hitter in the world. He probably wants to know too. It's the big leagues. You want to know what pitch is coming. If someone tells you I don't want to know, they're lying. So I'll say it again. That is not cheating. That's part of the game. It's gamesmanship. It's part of the cat and mouse. And Jay Jackson came out and said to the media, I went back and watched video and I was tipping my pitches. There you go. Not cheating. The Yankees are very good at having a group within their system and their organization that works in the video department. And they look for these things. Every team does. They will try to find a tip on every single pitcher they face. Most teams do that. It's the big leagues. Guys throw 100. They throw 4 nasty pitches. If you can get a leg up, an advantage, and know what's coming, more power to you. Now, last night, Domingo Germán, not exactly your model citizen at this point. And I think you had a good post on our account showing just the past 3 or 4 years of his career, his personal life, his off the field issues with domestic violence. He's not helping himself. All right. And if you remember about a month ago, this same umpiring crew said, hey, your hand's sticky. Go wash it off. Remember that? It was a big stink because they let him wash his hand, gave him a second chance because they weren't sure if it was rosin. Sometimes you keep rosin, sweat. It can kind of build up, like Scherzer said. And it can get really, really sticky over the course of 3 to 4 innings. It's just how it is. So they had him wash it off because they thought it was rosin. This time, I mean, it was brown on his pants. It looked like whether it was pine tar or sticky, whatever, spider, whatever it wasn't rosin. So I think he would have learned his lesson. He didn't. Can't expect him to be the guy to learn from his mistakes. Hopefully he does.
Yeah, that umpiring crew said that was rosin. That was illegal substance.
Said it was the stickiest hand they felt all season.
That wasn't a Max Scherzer
situation. I believe this was the same crew that had Max Scherzer, who tried to wash it with alcohol, knowing alcohol and rosin gets like crazy sticky. And this crew said Germán's hand was stickier, the stickiest hand they felt all year. Yeah. And it was kind of, when he came in the dugout, some of the teammates came over, pitching coach came over, and they're like, touched his hand. And I was waiting for him to be like, it's not that bad. They all touched it and just like turned around and walked off. I was like, oh, okay. I guess it is pretty bad because they didn't say a word.
Yeah.
You watch 2 guys like touch his hand and they just left. And I was like, okay, it's bad. Okay, it must have been bad.
Yeah, that's
what a bit of if like they touched it and it was like, the pitching coach was like, Jesus, dude.
Like on the replacements.
Yeah.
Or
like or Little Giants. If you're probably too young.
Yes. No, I did watch the Little Giants.
The guy has all the sticky stuff on his hands.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
You got a few football references on this episode.
One was accidental, just because I had a brain fart, but Arizona's on my mind because my next trip, I'm going to LA. I get to go be in the booth against the Angels in LA. Nice. Pretty fired up to watch that in person and call that game. And then I'm going to Arizona.
Is Ohtani on the bump?
I haven't looked yet. I don't know. It's like a week away, so it'll be Monday. So less than a week.
All right.
So I have to. I'm sure that. I mean, it's a 3-game series, so good chance.
I just got back from Arizona for a graduation, so we went down to San Diego. We actually drove over to Phoenix. Shout out Haley Cheney for graduating from Northern Arizona University with her physical training master's. Got to try out a Tesla for the first time. Have you driven a Tesla?
How fun are those, by the way?
I've driven
them,
right?
My neighbor has one. It's like the plaid version or whatever. I think it's how you say it. It's like 0 to 60 in 1.8.
They're quick.
It's just crazy how it doesn't change gears, right? It's just like constant, like a big rubber band, just boom, and you're gone.
You feel fast, but you feel under control.
Because it's so smooth, because you're not getting like the
Right.
changing gears like a big, like a muscle car or like a Mustang or Corvette or something. It's kind of scary how fast you get going that quick.
The speed limit in Arizona, at least in the high desert, if you will, it's 75.
Right.
Mostly in California, it's 65. I see 75, and I'm, consistently going 83. I passed multiple highway patrolmen.
I'll set this puppy on 100 and go. It's like, yeah.
So I'm not saying I didn't or I didn't, but if
you
I
had
did,
to feel it. If it was open, like no one around you, like why not?
If I did, I went 110, and it felt completely comfortable. Really did. Like, it didn't feel 110. It felt like if I'm going 80 in my Jeep Wrangler back home, that's the equivalent of what the 110 felt in the Tesla.
Well, yeah, because like 80 in a Jeep, you start like getting a little shake going. You're like, all right, like one of these wheels, if I hit a pothole, is coming off.
I got the mud tires too, so it just, yeah.
Yeah, so you got like the grapplers on there, so you can hear them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you're going 150.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate your point about whether it's cheating or not cheating. Is figuring out someone's signs cheating? No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
If you have an alternate camera somewhere like the Astros did and they're banging
right,
it, like that's cheating.
It's a different conversation. Completely
This is all like on the field.
Right.
Like figuring this out within like the lines.
Right.
Like you're on the field. He's tipping his pitches. He even came out and said, hey, I was tipping my pitches. I played with Jay Jackson in the minor leagues with the Padres. I think it was the Padres. Good dude. Good stuff. Glad he got to the big leagues. And I thought that was good of him to like go watch video and be like, oh, wow, that was me.
Yeah.
They're not cheating. Like that, good on him for that. Because he could have easily been like, man, I've got my tits lit. Let me blame it on someone else.
Yeah.
A lot of people would do that. A lot of people have done that. And he just said, man, this was me. I messed up. And that's like one of the best players in the world, too. Like, even if he didn't know what's coming, I threw him a cement mixer middle. Of course, he hit on 450 feet to center field. He hit 62 of those last year. So,
yeah,
not cheating. Part of the game, as much as you hate it, part of the game. Everybody's trying to get a leg up, and that is 100% legal. Every player in the league will tell you that's legal. And there were some people, but baseball Twitter is a special place anyways, but like, man, I guarantee Judge gets plunked tomorrow. He's going to get one in the neck. Like, no, he's not, because every player knows what happened is okay. And the Blue Jays are trying to find the same stuff on the Yankees pitchers because that's part of the game.
Yep.
I'm done with it.
My first college that I was at, University of San Francisco, NCAA, Division I, we were each pitcher had a role every single game. So relief pitcher and then starting pitchers who were not playing that day, because you don't want to have your players sitting on the bench doing nothing. So every one of us had a role. It could be fetching foul balls. It could be bringing in equipment, taking baseballs to the umpire, etc. One of the roles that a pitcher would have every single game was literally sitting on the bench, finding the best perspective and viewing vantage points into the opposing dugout and trying to figure out the opposing team's signs. And that was fair play. That was completely fair play.
And it's not just pitches, because a lot of times coaches will call pitches, even at that level, right?
Yep.
I'm now 12. Come on, Danny.
Right. First name, last name, could be your number whatever.
Anything, right?
It could be the first base coach could be standing with his arms crossed. It could be first,
for sure.
Something like that.
No doubt.
Arms crossed, arms down.
And not only that, you can tell like, oh, well, we know when they're picking off. We know when they're pitching out. So we're going to run.
Yeah.
Part of the game.
I think you can surmise it in this, and then we can move on, is anything that is used strategically within the confines of the baseball field is fair play. Anything outside, including technology, television, that's not cool. That's where you're talking about the Houston Astros and the
now there's a little twist to that, because like I can go in between games and I can watch catchers, right?
Yeah.
And I can watch like if they're giving signs,
yes,
or if it goes beyond that too. Like, not rarely do guys give signs anymore, because why would you if you don't have to worry about hiding it through PitchCom? But a lot of catchers, if you watch, not a lot, some catchers are getting better with it, will give away breaking ball as they're setting up, especially with guys on base or with 2 strikes, because they get a little wider so they can block it. Half the guys in the league go 1 knee, so that takes that away for the most part. But the guys that don't, their stance will get a little wider just so they are able to get down and block a pitch better. The more narrow they are, the harder it is to get spread out quick and block a 88-mile-per-hour slider in the dirt. So sometimes if I can watch video on that the day before that day, I'm not during the game, but that way, if I'm on second base and I see that, hey, breaking ball's coming. But that I feel like that's within part of the game. That's just doing your study. It's the same as watching the pitcher. It's not like actively watching the game inside and calling pitches. That's different. But PitchCom kind of took away from that, anyways.
Right. We could talk for days. Death, taxes, and unwritten.
It's fun.
Rules. But yeah, it is. But let's move on for the sake of time here. Some teams stumbling out of the gates a little bit. Now I want to touch on each of them. Mets, Padres, Cardinals. Cardinals are starting to play a little bit better. The Mets are not. Your concern level with the Mets, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, what would your panic meter be at with the New York Mets, who are currently in 4th place?
It is strong to quite strong. I'll go 7.
That's high.
It's high. It's high. They're 20-23. You could look at all the money they spent this offseason to build this monstrous team. Verlander's back. He got crushed by the fans in his most recent outing, which I think that was just built up from everything. He's the one that had to wear it. But Scherzer missed time. Verlander obviously missed time. They have a ton of guys hurt. Peterson's struggling. Carrasco, I think, is either back or very close to being back, so they'll get a little better. But he's not a superstar. But they need depth at this point. They need rotational depth. But if you look at it, they're 20-23, right? So my main issue with this team is that they haven't been taking advantage of the weak teams, the weak opponents. They've lost series to the Reds, the Rockies, the Tigers, the Nationals. That can't happen, right? And I think the scary part is if you look at their schedule over the next, 4 to 5 weeks, we'll say the next month, they have the Rays right now. They have the Guardians. They have the Phillies. They have the Blue Jays and the Braves. Some very good baseball teams.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like, it's kind of the gauntlet for them over this month, but it's like make or break. Can they get hot and play good baseball against good teams and build that confidence and say, you know what, we are a good team? Because confidence is huge in this sport. Or they could look up at the end of June and be 10 under 500, and now you're praying to get hot in July and August and hope you can get a playoff spot. I don't think, and you said this earlier, I thought this was a good point. Like, they're not worried about winning the division. I think they know how good the Braves are. They know how good they are too. They're underperforming severely and they're hurt. They're not worried. You don't have to win the division in this new postseason structure.
Right.
You just got to get in, right? So that's all my negative talk on the Mets. I do want to throw in a little bit of a slice of positivity for any Mets fans out there. All right. So through 40 games, the 2022 Phillies were 18-22. The 2021 Braves were 19-21. The 2019 Nationals, remember them sneaking in the playoffs, were 16-24. They went on that run in the second half. They're unbelievable. So all 3 of those made it to the World Series. 2 of them won the World Series. So with that roster that the Mets have, the talent that is there, let's not completely count them out yet because of a rough 43 games they're into now, 20-23.
Yeah.
So it's still a possibility. Don't count them out. Still a possibility, and we've seen it from a team outside of the 2020 season, the last 3 full seasons of baseball. We've seen teams have awful 40-game starts and then get to the World Series. So are they that team this year? We'll see how they get through June, because it's going to be a bloodbath.
The Mets last year, I've compared them to the Los Angeles Clippers of the NBA, and forgive me for those who are not NBA fans. If anybody's ever heard of the term load management, I've often referred to the Mets as using that strategy because last year they tried using it with DeGrom, who has dealt with injuries in his past. They tried doing it with Scherzer. Basically, they're trying to get their guys to be healthy all at the right time. But they're very intentional about it. Like they're putting guys on IL, like Justin Verlander at the start of the season. He said it himself. He said, if it was the playoffs, I'd be pitching right now. But
Right.
I'm going to start the season on the IL and just get back healthy. To your point, I don't think they care about winning the National League East. They just care about getting into the dance. What I worry about it is, we've seen it with the Los Angeles Clippers, is you intend on having all your guys healthy, but you can't always predict a back spasm in October. You can't always predict a sore arm in September. So it's all great in theory. You want your guys healthy at the right time, but it's not a perfect formula. So that's my biggest worry with the Mets. Is I get what they're trying to do, and they've been doing it for years now. And especially when you have an aging pitching staff with Scherzer and Verlander, you want to have them right for the right times. But it's not a perfect formula. You can't just say, look, we want Scherzer and Verlander. We want them healthy in October. We're just gonna rest them for 2 months. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes It's better for guys to just keep on pitching, because as soon as you let that arm go, as soon as you even give it a rest, your arm kind of likes the rest, and all of a sudden the soreness increases. It's kind of weird how pitching can work like that. So
it's tough. It's tough because you want to, like you're saying, but you also want to make sure they're peaking and still strong, like that second half, right? That second half push, like post All-Star break.
I just don't think load management is a perfect formula. I don't.
It depends on the guy, I guess. But
yeah.
I mean, like I said, don't count them out. They're only a game and a half. It's mid-May. Is it mid-May? What is it? May 17th. Yeah, mid-May. And
it's kind of
they're a game and a half out of the playoffs. So it's not like they're dead.
Yeah.
They still have really good players. They're underperforming. Let's move on.
Walker Buehler said that he's intending on pitching in the playoffs, by the way, for the Dodgers.
I believe it.
Coming off Tommy John. That would be huge.
It'd be huge. Guys come back. They have their velocity, but it's like command. I feel like that touch feel for off speed is like not there yet. We saw it with Ohtani when he came back. Seen it with several Dustin May when he came back.
Mm-hmm.
Like the touch feel wasn't there for like command and for like all the off speed pitches. But who knows? Everybody's different.
I have something weird for you. Speaking of the Dodgers, Dustin May, among all qualified starting pitchers, according to Baseball Savant, has the fewest amount of swings and misses. He's generating the fewest. A guy that throws 97, 98, 99 mile an hour sinker ballers and on the hands, and he has the fewest amount of swings and misses. He's having a really strong season, by the way, Dustin May. He's a 2.5 ERA.
So I have a question here. I'm gonna look this up. You probably have it up. Look up Dustin May's walk rate. I'm pulling this out of my hat. I'm just trying to create a theory. Is his walk rate pretty low?
Do you think he's just attacking hitters right now?
I think maybe guys are just being aggressive and knowing he's going to be in the zone. And you got to realize his slider is hard. So everything's hard. He doesn't have anything to like a big differential in speed.
So his walk rate's at 8.7%, which is...
What's the league average? Probably 10?
7.4.
Oh, 7.4. I was way off. All right.
So it's a little above league average.
A little above. Okay. So that doesn't... I'm just trying to figure it out too. Like maybe he's predictable early in counts. Maybe he's, I don't know. You'd think he would have some good put away stuff, but
it was just something I saw today and I thought it was interesting.
That's interesting. That's super interesting.
League average walk rate this year.
If you go to just like Baseball Savant and you look at his page or Baseball Reference, I think at the bottom of like Savant definitely says it. Like it'll be like 2023, and right below that it'll say like league or MLB, and then all in gray, and it'll have all the league averages for all the stats.
Gotcha. Yeah, don't mark my words on the 8.7. I think that's correct, but anyways, I thought it was interesting. We can move on. St. Louis Cardinals. Don't love what I'm seeing out in St. Louis right now. A combination of things. 3 points. Number one, it started with the benching of Tyler O'Neill, and manager Ole Marmol decided to go public with that. We both disagreed with that. Number two, they opted to go public with Wilson Contreras. They took away his catching duties. They said that he's not going to be catching for the foreseeable future. He will be available to potentially play outfield or DH. And within a week, they said he's going back to the catching position. They did not have to go public with that. It would have been very easy for the Cardinals to say Wilson Contreras is dealing with a finger issue, a sore knee. So
Yeah.
he's not going to be catching for a week. Instead,
It's
they
just
decide to put their
everything
guy
they
under the bus like that.
for an organization who's known for having good feel.
Right.
There's been zero. I don't want to. I do want to blame the manager for the Tyler O'Neill stuff because that's a behind the closed doors conversation. Tyler O'Neill's not a guy you have to pump up or blow him up in public to make him play hard. He plays hard. He's like the Harrison Bader type player. And I mean, look at his body. Guy clearly works his ass off. You know what I mean? He's jacked. That doesn't just happen. So that was dumb. You're going to lose respect from your veterans from square one doing that. And then, yeah, man, you signed this guy in the offseason in Wilson Contreras to a 5-year, $87.5 million deal to be your catcher. Did they expect him to be Yadi Molina? Because no one is Yadi Molina. So that can't happen. My biggest issue with that whole situation is them pointing fingers and placing blame and not having their pitchers look in the mirror and say, I'm not executing pitches. It has nothing to do with your catcher. At the end of the day, you can say, oh, I don't like throwing to him or he's calling the wrong pitch. Then get a pitch comm and call your pitches like Shohei does. Call your own pitches or shake. You don't have to throw what he pushes. If you don't have to get along with a guy to execute pitches. That's a cop-out. Make your pitches. It's the big leagues. You're a big leaguer. It's no one else's fault if you don't make a pitch except for your own.
But if you're so reliant on Yadi Molina for 18 years and all of a sudden flip of a switch.
Yadi doesn't throw the pitch.
And Yadi doesn't play 162
like,
games
it's
either.
It's not like he's behind the plate. So, oh man,
right.
Now I'm going to really get out there and finish my breaking ball because he's behind the plate. You know what I mean? You're a pitcher. You know that. Like if you either are going to execute your pitch or you're not. If you don't agree with the pitch calling, this is something pregame when you have your advanced meeting and your game plan meeting. This is what I want to do. This is what I like to throw 3-2. If I'm down 2-0, 3-1, I like to throw my cutter. That's the plan. If he doesn't call it, you shake your head. I know the pitch clock can, a lot of guys don't like to shake because they're in a hurry. Call your own pitches. Stop blaming other people. It's the big leagues. Do your job.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're kind of calling out St. Louis's pitchers and just telling them to look in the mirror a little bit because
I think they are. I mean, they came to Boston and put a whooping on the Red Sox, who were on a 8-game heater. Sox were playing good, and they came in with a little bit of chip on their shoulder. Arenado had not been playing well. He was hitting .230 coming into the series. Hit a homer in every game. He's homered in 5 straight now. They just for Danny 2 nights ago put up an 18-piece McNugget on Milwaukee. They're playing good ball now. Goldsmith's playing good ball. He has been all year, but getting Arenado going, I think they start heating up. Don't count that team out. I know they're way out of it right now, but they're coming. In the words of Deion Sanders, we coming.
I said my concerns were threefold. I mentioned the Tyler O'Neill situation, the Wilson Contreras. The third point I wanted to mention was, and it feeds into your point, is that they asked Jack Flaherty after the game because his velocity was down after a start. And they said, do you have any explanation for why your velocity might be down? And he immediately got a little hostile and said, I'm not answering any more questions about my velocity.
Yeah, I saw that.
You don't understand. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically told the reporter, if you're questioning my velocity, it means you don't understand pitching.
Yeah, he said, look, if I have a guy on second base and, a big time hitter up, I'll pump it up, but I'm pitching to the situation is what he said.
I think it's a very fair question. If your velocity's down,
guys do that. Scherzer does that. Verlander's always done that. All the best pitchers in the game, first couple innings, nobody on, they're sitting lower velocity and then they're up higher. But now, if you're not able to get higher and you're sitting low the whole time, that's the problem. But
don't you think it's fair for a reporter to ask, hey, your velocity's down?
It is fair, but I think something we are forgetting. Like, he was pissed and he was frustrated. And you get to talk to these guys right after the game and they're still pissed and frustrated and they didn't play well. And they're not going to give you the most thought out answer because they're seeing red. Flaherty's been through a lot of injuries. He's gone through a lot of failure after having a ton of success when he came up. It is hard to go to the field every day after knowing how good you are and you're capable of being and not being able to pull that out of your body. So he's frustrated, man, and he's sick of answering these same questions over and over again when he's not sitting 95.
Yeah.
All right. So we forget that there's a human aspect. I know they make a shit ton of money. It's the big leagues. It's the pinnacle of the sport. They have to stand in front of their locker and answer questions, but they're still humans, and he was pissed. So I didn't read too much into that just because of the human aspect. Because could he handle it better? Yeah. Did he? It's okay. Like, it's okay to be pissed sometimes, but you're going to have to deal with social media after that.
So your concern level for the Cardinals on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most panicked, 0 being the least panicked.
What's crazy is like of the teams you're asking me, they probably have the worst record. Yeah, they're 17-26, 4.5 out of a playoff spot, last in their division. I actually have less panic for them than I do the Mets.
I agree.
I give it like a 4.5, 5.
A lot of that has to do with their division, I think.
With their division and then the guys within the team and the way they're playing right now. So now they're like waking up like, oh, we got this. Like we can do this. We can play good baseball. We can pitch. We can hit. All right, now we go. So I want to see how the next month goes, and then we'll revisit this.
Last team I want to mention before we wrap up shop is the San Diego Padres. I went to Monday night's game against Kansas City. Beside the team, beside what the record says, beside what the numbers say, the scene in San Diego right now is unbelievable. The San Diego Padres logo and their attire has become a style down there. Like, it's crazy. You played down there in San Diego when times weren't great. I was down there for school when times weren't great. It is completely switched over. Everybody is, again, regardless of the record, they absolutely could be playing better. It just got swept by the Dodgers. But right now, like, that city is completely behind the team. It's a Monday night against Kansas City. This place was sold out. I understand it was Manny Machado bobblehead night.
Got you one.
Yeah, I got me a Manny Machado bobblehead. I understand it was Manny Machado bobblehead night, but there wasn't an open seat on a Monday night against Kansas City.
On a Monday night,
that doesn't happen 5 years ago. You know,
that's like a Friday, Saturday versus the Dodgers, and it's 60% Dodger fans.
Yeah, it's incredible. And meanwhile, just up in the same state, the state of California, Oakland had 2,000 fans Monday night in their ball game. So obviously that's a little bit deeper of a conversation for another time. But
yeah, no, good for the Padres and their fan and their fan base, and that's great, but they're not playing good right now.
They're not.
I mean, what they this year versus the Dodgers, they've lost 5 of 6. They just got Little Broed pretty hard. Nice. They just they got Little Broed pretty hard out in LA. And I think they've lost 8 of their last 10. Yeah, 8 of their last 10. Yeah, they've lost that. Not good. I'm not panicking on this team. They're 300-500. Same thing as the Mets. Like, they don't have to win that division. I think they actually have the same record as the Mets.
They do.
Yeah, 20-23, game and a half back of a wild card. I hate talking about a wild card in May, but it's a good measuring point. Their lineup is so stacked. At some point, they're going to get hot and explode and carry them for a month and go on a run. They have to, right? They're that good. They have to. 3 or 4 guys get like scorching hot and just carry them. They score 8 runs a game for a month. Like, that's how good they are. They're going to, if they stay healthy. They're not going to win the division. Dodgers going to win the division, but we can keep talking about how that doesn't matter. If you can get a bye for the first round, great. If not, you still get in. Just get into the tournament. So my panic meter on the Padres is pretty low, just based off of how good their offense is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go 5. I'll go right in the mid range.
Just don't worry about Juan Soto. You can worry about the team. A lot of people are concerned about Soto. Everything is pointing in the right direction. His chase rate is tops in the league. His hard hit percentage is upper 95th percentile. And in his expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, they're all tops.
Yeah.
So everything is pointing in the right direction for Soto. Don't be concerned about him.
Yeah. Before we leave the NL West, I just want to shout out the Dodgers, man. They got hot.
Yeah.
They got hot. And I'm just digging into them because there was a lot of talk this offseason of, man, they're not going for it. They didn't do much this offseason. They lost their shortstop in Gavin Lux in spring training. They have all these holes. Listen, I think Andy Friedman knows what he's doing. In 7 years with the team, they've averaged 104 wins. Averaged. Okay? You can't go all in every season. And I know you're going to say, oh, they're saving for Ohtani. They probably are. Mm-hmm. But regardless, like, you look at a model of the best teams, they don't go all in every year because, number one, it depletes your farm system. Number two, you get stuck with long-term contracts, San Diego Padres, and you're going to have old players at some point where if you go all in for 2 or 3 years, then for 6 or 7 years, you're screwed. Right? So I think LA's model has been ideal. You lock up your superstars, and then you're kind of just I mean, he came over from Tampa where they started that analytical rage, right? Where that really changed the whole league. You can say Oakland with Billy Bean and Moneyball and all that, but Oakland, I thought, I mean, Tampa Bay did the best, did the most with it over the past few years, over the past 10 years. And then he comes over to LA and brings that with all, and then has all the money and the financial side of it to do both. And we're seeing, like I said, they average 104 wins the last 7 seasons in a row. That is ridiculous. So Dodgers got hot. They're playing really good baseball right now. They've won 9 of 10 at home. They just swept the Padres. I mean, while we're in, I just got to at least shout out the Diamondbacks because they're, and I think you called it. Didn't you call it preseason? You're like, the Diamondbacks are my black sheep. Like, or,
we both did. We both, I don't want to take full credit. I was far from the first guy on the bandwagon.
Dark horse, black sheep, dark horse, same thing.
I kind of like black sheep though.
Yeah, but that means something else. I'm kind of. I mean, they kind of are the black sheep.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're good. Corbin Carroll, Gallen,
athletic.
Torey Lovullo. I love Torey. He was our bench coach in Boston when we won a World Series. Good dude. Great dude. But that's a fun division. Fun division for sure.
We're having some new developments with the podcast, as we mentioned. Our goal is to have a power rankings episode every Monday, and then we will have an additional episode later on in the week. So 2 episodes.
Yeah, just like news and updates later in the week, like what we're doing right now. Just kind of catch you up on the week of baseball previous, and then I like starting like the power rankings. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Do you want to do like each of us have our own list, or do you want to like I think we should talk and make one list.
We'll discuss. We'll chat.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll talk.
Work in progress.
Yeah. Regardless, this episode was brought to you by Bet Online. You can catch all of us on our YouTube pages, social media pages. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, and now you can also watch us on the new Bleed Sports TV channel, which is exciting stuff. Will Middlebrooke, Dane Vieti, RAKE Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Talk to you guys all soon. Peace.